So let's get over to segment number 2, and that is our championship week picks against the spread. Let's start off with the Pac-12, Al.
All right.
So number 6, Utah versus number 14, Oregon, or is it Oregon? I don't know how people say it, but I like to say Oregon. They're at Levi's Stadium, which is a stadium that Clemson Tigers are familiar with. It'll be 8 p.m. on ABC, and Utah is -6 starting out the gate. Utah, to me, has the better defense. They have a rushing and passing attack that I think is really good. I like their guy, Zach Moss, over 1,200 yards rushing. Mm-hmm. Their offense typically puts 35 points up a game, and I feel like they can hang with anybody. They have a top 25 offense and a top 5 defense, and I'd like to see them as the number 4 team in the nation when it's all said and done. So give me Utah -6.
Yeah, I actually agree with a lot of what you said there. I think their defense is fantastic, particularly their defensive line. I think it's one of the best, if not the best in the country. Al gets in just in time for our spread picks. He's always great about giving us his picks as well. Utah's looked really impressive all season with the exception of their hiccup at Southern Cal. Oregon's coming off a loss to Arizona State a couple weeks ago, and they had a relatively pathetic showing against Oregon State this past week. Give me the Utes, -6.
The next one is the Big 12, a team that could be left out after it's all said and done, even if they win the championship game and only have one loss because of things that have happened during the season and because of the schedule that other teams have played. They may not be able to make it in. Some people are saying Baylor might squeak in. Some people are saying Oklahoma might still squeak in. You never know, but I find it hard to believe that Oklahoma would jump Utah, considering they haven't jumped them yet. But you've got number 9 Baylor versus number 7 Oklahoma. You heard that right. It's a rematch. But this time it's at AT&T Stadium at 12 p.m. on ABC. And I want to go back. I believe that Pac-12 game is on a Friday night. They're actually going to play a day early, so that's why that one's at 8 p.m. This one's at 12 p.m. on ABC. Oklahoma starting out the gate -8. What you got, Al?
Oklahoma -8. Wow. Okay, that is different than the line I looked up. I had it was Oklahoma -10 when I looked at it earlier. Look, my gut tells me the Bears cannot mentally recover. Having to face a team that broke their hearts at home in that gigantic comeback a few weeks ago. But in a nod to Chip and Joanna, I'm at least going to take the Bears to cover for this game. So I'm going to go with Baylor plus the 8.
You're going with Baylor plus the 8. For me, the Bears had an epic choke at home.
Yep.
And we're up. I think they were up by 3 scores or something like that. It was crazy.
It was bad.
But they ended up losing by 3 at home. This is going to be at a neutral field, but AT&T Stadium is a place where Oklahoma is used to. Jerry's World, right? And so I'm going to take Oklahoma in this case. I believe Oklahoma will be able to beat them. 10 and 8, though, that's a big difference there. 8, you can beat them by 10. But with 10, you're going to have to beat them by 13 or 4 or 16, something like that. You're going to have to beat them by 2 touchdowns or a touchdown, 2 field goals. So you would think it's not that big a deal, just a couple of points, but it is. That's the way Vegas kind of tricks you there. You got to really think about, okay, well, can they, what's the odds of them scoring 2 touchdowns, or what's the odds of them scoring 2 field goals? You got to think about that. But here's one, Al. I don't know if you included these because they're not really like the marquee games of the weekend, but I got the Sun Belt up here for Louisiana versus number 25 App State at Kidd Brewer Stadium in Boone, North Carolina, 12 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. App State is -6 for the Sun Belt Championship. When I look at them on the stat line, they look pretty even, but since they're playing at home in Boone, I'm going to go with App State.
Yeah, App State's only loss this year came in a stunner to Georgia Southern. Okay, a lot of people did not see that coming. That includes road games against South and North Carolina. App State both got big wins there. The Raging Cajuns have been pretty impressive their own right, to be honest. They only lost to Mississippi State and to App State. So this is obviously a rematch. I'm giving the nod to the Mountaineers. Okay, I think they will cover right there. I'm going to take App State -6 as well.
And the next one up is the MAC Championship. That's Miami of Ohio versus Central Michigan at Ford Field in Detroit, 12 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Central Michigan is -6. Jonathan Ward, their running back, has over 1,000 yards rushing for the year. But get this, Al, Jim McElwain. Have you heard that name before?
I have.
He actually is the first-year coach over at Central Michigan.
Mhm.
and they went 1-11 last year. Talk about coach of the year. He has a chance, I believe, to win 9 games this year in his first season. They were picked by most of the media to go dead last in their conference, and here they are playing for the championship game as a favorite. So give me Central Michigan.
Yeah, Miami, Ohio Redhawks had a really rough start to the season, but they won 5 in a row before dropping their last game, and my mind may change on this by game time, but I like what McElwain's done there so far. So I'm going to take Central Michigan as well, minus the points.
All right. And the next one up is Conference USA. This is a team that my aunt graduated from in her graduate degree. UAB, Alabama Birmingham, versus Florida Atlantic at FAU Stadium, 1:30 p.m., CBS Sports Network. FAU minus 7.5 right now as the favorite, but there's a little bit of, off the field action going on for Florida Atlantic. Lane Kiffin is in serious conversations to become Arkansas's next coach. This is something that has just started this Monday afternoon. UAB has been in the championship game the last 2 years, but Florida Atlantic is the favorite and has won their last 5 games very convincingly. Even with the off-the-field things going on with Lane Kiffin maybe leaving, give me Florida Atlantic.
Yeah, both teams have had their highs and lows this year for sure. It's one of those teams, FAU, I like to take to cover spreads, especially with Lane Kiffin and the offense that he runs. I like the fact that he can put up some points. But, like you said, with the talks with Arkansas, with the kind of unrest and not really knowing what's going on, I'm just going to jump on a hunch here and take UAB to cover here plus the 7.
Yeah, that's a tempting one to take for sure. I thought about it a couple of times about taking them but the thing is when I don't know much about them, I try to lean on the favorite. I don't want to. I can't risk it. I did a couple of weeks ago, risked it, and went with a bunch of underdogs, and it hurt me bad. So got to be careful. But even though I know that you're ahead of me, I may want to change my pick after that. By the way, Al, you got in my head over the week, and I ended up. I don't know if you noticed this, but I kept Wisconsin, and I changed my pick to Pittsburgh. Because of what you said in the show.
Nice. Good call.
And I was like, you know what? Alan's right. I went off my formula. I know that Steve Adazio is I know that they're fighting for a bowl, but that's not my formula. Emotions are not my formula. And then I lost. So
you blew it. Big time.
I picked Pittsburgh. I picked BC on the show. I picked Pittsburgh on the game and on Yahoo and lost it. So that's what I get. But anyways, the good thing is you picked Pittsburgh anyways too, so I didn't lose any standings, any ground to you. But
right.
Stay with your gut. That's the moral of the story there. But by the way, they just fired Adazio, which was kind of a shocking move. Packer and Durham were very shocked this week because he's been such a great coach and seemed to be such a great fit for BC. I don't know what they're going to do. It's kind of weird. You win a game against a team that you were an underdog to go bowl eligible, but then you get fired. I don't really know, but we'll see. We'll keep you updated with what happens over there at BC. The American Championship, number 19 Cincinnati versus number 18 Memphis. Again, this is kind of a broken record here. They just played last week.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be at the Liberty Bowl in Memorial Stadium at Memphis, 3:30 p.m. ABC. Memphis, again, is the favorite, but this time they're minus 10, and they won by 10 just last week. So I think Vegas is onto something there and kind of looking at the previous game and saying, okay, you won by 10. Well, let's give Cincinnati 10 and see what you can do. And for me, Memphis is just such a high-scoring team. I'm just going to go ahead and go with them again. Give me Memphis minus the 10.
Like you said, they played this last week. They won by 10. It was on Memphis home turf. But Cincinnati had 4 turnovers in that game, including 2 fumbles, 1 interception, and 1 on downs. All right, so in a revenge game on a neutral site, I'm going to take Cincinnati Bearcats to cover.
That might be one I change my pick on later on in the week. I don't know. You just convinced me a little bit. You just changed my mind. The next one is the Mountain West, Hawaii versus number 20 Boise State. Now, they played earlier on in the season also, Just nuts, just how many teams are already played each other. But they're going to be playing at Albertson Stadium in Boise, Idaho, 4 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Boise State's coming out a 14.5 favorite. Hawaii is giving up 430 yards per game, and Boise State just destroyed them earlier on in this year, 59-37, and 16 of those points at the end of the game were with like the third string in there, kind of like a Clemson game. So give me Boise State minus the 14.5.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said there. They beat they beat them by 22. Boise State beat Hawaii by 22 earlier this year on their home turf. And like you said, a lot of those points were scored late when Boise State was on cruise control. So I don't think the neutral site helps Hawaii enough here. I'm taking Boise State minus the 14.5 as well.
I like it. Big Ten. This is a big one here.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, Ohio State versus number 12, Wisconsin at Lucas Oil Stadium. I believe that's the Indianapolis Colts Stadium at 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Fox likes to carry those Big 12 or Big 10 games, Big 12 and Big 10 games. But Ohio State coming out the gates minus 16.5 favorite. Can they beat them by 21 again? Well, they beat them by 21 last time, but Jonathan Taylor didn't show up. He had less than 50 yards rushing. Wisconsin couldn't hold Chase Young back. I mean, he caused 2 fumbles, and immediately they scored a touchdown right after that. But did you know, Al, at the beginning of the third quarter and a few minutes into the third quarter, the game was 7-10.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty close to start out. Chase Young caused those 2 sacks/fumbles, and then it got out of hand for him. Wisconsin had to go away from starting with Jonathan Taylor to open up the pass and just started passing it and caused even more problems for them. I don't know. I don't know how Wisconsin's going to do on this game. I feel like I have to go with what Ohio State has already been doing. They beat up Michigan, and I believe they're going to continue to roll. I think they can do it again. So I'm going to take Ohio State again for the win against Wisconsin, minus 16.5 on a neutral stadium or neutral site.
Yeah, I took Wisconsin in the game early this year thinking Ohio State wouldn't quite look so hot in their first real test. Wrong. Okay. It did not work out quite like I'd hoped. Obviously, like you said, at halftime, it was not so bad, but then Ohio State got rolling and just and took him to the woodshed. I was really embarrassed. I thought the Badgers were going to do me better than that, and they just couldn't do it. So I would be kind of crazy to take them right now, even though the Badgers are playing good football. I'm not going to fall for that trap right now. I'm taking Ohio State minus 16.5.
I figured you would pick Wisconsin on that one. I don't know. I just was thinking that you were going to go with them, but it's nice to see that you've come over to the Ohio State side of things. That way, at least that won't be one I'll lose if Wisconsin wins. But the SEC, this is one that's college game day matchup here. Number 4, Georgia versus number 2, LSU at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's in Atlanta. That's the Falcon Stadium, that brand new, beautiful stadium there. 4 p.m. Eastern on CBS. LSU is coming out as a favorite, minus 7.5. To me, Al, Georgia doesn't have the offense to keep up with LSU. And what's about to happen to them, LSU just torched Texas A&M by 43 points. And I don't see anything different happening to the Dogs. Even though you're going to tell me that their defense is a whole lot better, I don't think that Georgia has proven anything to me to show that they can show up and hold a game and win a game in a game that matters, in like a championship game or a big time, pivotal game. So I don't trust Georgia because of, how they've floundered over the past couple of years in big games. And I think LSU just has so many weapons to just destroy you with. And they're really on top of the world right now. I wouldn't have them at number 2. I'd actually put them at number 1 because I don't see any reason why Ohio State should have jumped them other than politics. But give me LSU minus 7.5.
Minus 7.5. Okay, the line has changed from 6.5. If there's a defense that Georgia can score against other than Georgia Tech, it's LSU's. And that's a weird thing to say because LSU is obviously known for their defense at times, and not this year. I think the Tigers have not done well in the department of defense this year. I think everybody knows that. The whole country knows it. They've seen it. A lot of points have been scored on them this year. But even as good as Georgia's defense is, and they have been good all year, really, I don't think it's going to be enough to slow down this LSU offense. The offense has carried LSU all year. I think it will continue to do so. So give me the Tigers from the fake Death Valley to cover the 7.5.
All right. I thought you were going with Georgia there for a minute, and then you kind of said, give me the Tigers. So, like I said, I think Georgia definitely has a better defense than most. But they just can't keep up with people. They don't score a ton of points. They had a close game against Texas A&M at home just a few weeks ago. And so based on that, I can't pick them at all. Whether it's 6.5, whether it's 7.5, I can't pick them. Really, I don't think if you gave me 20 points, I would pick Georgia. Really, to be honest with you, I believe LSU just has that much firepower.